Next on our docket in our program, I will be introducing our keynote speaker for tonight, Coulter. Dare is an award-winning artist, muralist, and sculptor. Her mission for her artwork is primarily to create positive and magical imagery, Black people and families. She hopes to have a mural on every continent within the next 5 years, and a series of sculptures depicting Black joy all over the world. Her objective is to share positive depictions led through her children's books, and she has illustrated 5 books to date, with 2 more currently in development as we speak. Dare is currently in Raleigh, North Carolina, first ever artist in residence, and was commissioned by the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, to create a monument on our campus celebrating Black life and Black lives. Her public art pieces are located all around the Triangle area, and will be joined by a monumental sculptor at the Heritage Center, and a few more permanent and temporary murals all over the state of North Carolina. And I will now pass it off, and please join me virtually, of course, in welcoming Dare Coulter, and I will pass it off to her.
Hi guys. Thank you so much, Dion. I really appreciate it. And I feel like maybe it's just par for the course, the idea of overcoming and making it through, because let me tell y'all what just happened. I am on my neighbor's front porch. Because I was in my house, there was a little lightning crack and it was pretty loud, and it turns out it took out the Wi-Fi. So, the idea that we are all a village, my neighbor is saving my life. And I told her, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I've never knocked on the door before, but can I please use your Wi-Fi? She said yes, and she's in her house and I'm out here on her porch, and she is being so kind. So I'm going to speed through a little bit faster than I would have before. I want to say thank you guys so much for having me here. And I am so proud of you guys. And I know we're going to get into that in 1 second, so let me jump over to my presentation. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and here we go. Okay, so let me close this. I was just trying to make sure it would show up. Put it there. Okay, all right. Hey y'all. This is my presentation for the keynote, and it's called From the Dirt. Sometimes you gotta get your hands dirty to make stuff happen. I think that's where we're at today. Actually, I'm gonna see if I can do it like this. I want to see as many of y'all as I can, because like I said, I'm just happy to be here with you. All right, so this is me. I'm Dare Coulter. I'm an artist, I'm a muralist, I'm a sculptor, I'm an illustrator. So many things that are artistic that I kind of lose track of them sometimes, but I am so grateful to be able to do this as a job, as a profession. It's my passion, it's my love, and art is actually the reason that I'm here with y'all today, because like Dion introduced, I'm creating a monument for your campus. It's my first monument, and it's in celebration of all these wonderful things that we are, of our resilience. And I'm really, really grateful to be able to be creating that art for you. So my work, Black joy, the concept of Black joy as resistance and, as a marker of resilience, these are pieces that I created. It's really important to me to make sure that we are reflecting on the positive things that happen in our communities, the love and the joy and the light that we have, because media isn't always so kind. And I think for the most part, we all know that the last year has been pretty rough. And it's just this focus on our pain and our death and the destruction of us. And that's pretty rough to contend with. So before we jump there, I want to say congratulations. It's a little pun, but I'm excited for y'all. And I was typing it out, I was like, nah, it's going to say grad. Y'all did it. Graduating is hard, even when you're not fighting a pandemic, even when you're not fighting the extinguishing of Black lives on a public scale. It's hard under those circumstances, but even with that, y'all made it, y'all overcame, and that's beautiful. So congratulations to you. And my speech is called From the Dirt, and it is about gardening. And why gardening? Some background, my mom had a story when she was a kid. She did a speech about having not a green thumb, she killed a cactus. And you know, this one of those things that's kind of like a hallmark of my childhood, is that mom doesn't do plants. So, you know, at this point in adulthood, I ended up gardening, having plants, and it was kind of a strange situation. But in 2020, a lot of things happened. It felt almost like being surrounded by death, right? There's some stuff that happened in my personal life that also, you know, made that a bigger thing. But you know, society-wise, we saw everything that happened. We saw George Floyd, we saw Breonna Taylor, we saw all of these things that were difficult to resolve, and it made me crave life in the most basic way that I could imagine it, you know. So I thrust my fingers into the ground and I ended up growing ginger. You know, the idea of healing plants is something that's very fascinating to me. And ginger is a medicinal plant. It's a special plant. But when I started growing ginger, I got excited and I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna grow more things. And then I took up my mom's garden. So earlier when I ran through the speech, I was like, I'm coming to y'all live from my mama's house in my studio in my mama's house, but I'm not at my mama's house because I'm at my neighbor's house, but my mama's house is over there. And you know, with that, she was like, you're pulling up the bushes, you're doing this. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna make it ours, right? And it began this process. So with graduating and going off into life, these are just, you know, some things that I gathered from gardening and some reminders that I have to you all that I think are the things that stood out for me over the course of this year, right? So one, find what you want and go get it. You have time. When I graduated, I remember feeling free. I was just like, I don't have to go to class. I don't have to be on campus. I don't have to walk anywhere in the snow. Everything's okay. But then it's like, okay, I have time. What do I do with it, right? And with gardening, for me, like the beginning stuff, I'm looking at plants. I was on Pinterest. I found prairie gardens. I got excited about them, and I'm like, all right, this is my jam. So these are my first pins on my Pinterest board of what I wanted my garden to look like. And then in the middle of that, there was more color. Things were slightly different. My most recent ones look a lot like this. And I think the bottom line for me in this, and all of this is metaphors about life, really. But one, you're allowed to decide that you can pick what you want. You can pursue the things that you want. And an important reminder that happiness is always worth pursuing, right? So these plants are plants that I have that I love. They actually came from the last house that we live out. I went and I dug them up all stealthy and whatnot because I wanted them. But they're actually technically weeds. So, you know, they expand in the ground, and in order to have them, I had to put them in the container to make sure that they wouldn't spread to my neighbor's yard. But I'm like, I love these plants. I want to have them. And it was important to me. So with life post college, with any point in your existence, remember that you can find what you like and fill your life with it. And if you don't like what you thought you would, try again. You know, the thing is, a lot of people, the variety of where people are at in their life in a college experience is not that everyone who graduates college is like 21, 22. Some people are 40, some people are 50, some people are 70. And you know, the bottom line is, no matter where you are in your life, if you don't like what you thought you would, then it's okay to try again. It's your life to be happy in. Even if you were wrong, if you're right, that's the best thing. But you know, if you said, okay, well, I wanted these plants, there's some stuff I planted, I was like, yep, that was good for one season, and literally one season, because I haven't been gardening that long. But you know, this is your life to be happy in. Even if you realize that you were wrong in the things you pursued, just find the stuff that works for you. But with that, you also have to cut off the things that are not working, right? And sometimes it's scary. So this is the very first lesson in gardening. And these are my African marigolds that I saw. I was really excited about them. And they were blooming and just bright and cool. And then this happened. I noticed that some of the flowers were dying and I didn't understand why. It was confusing to me. And then Google informed me that there's a process that plants go through, or that you have to go through as a gardener, called deadheading. With deadheading, you cut off the blooms that are spent, the blooms that are dying, because the other parts of the plant need the energy and the nutrients. And once the bloom is gone, it's gone. So the idea of cutting off dead flowers is scary to me. Well, I'm like, well, you know, they're dead, but you know, maybe the plant needs them. Maybe they should be there. You know, in life, some of the things that we're like, okay, I need this, I want this, I have this. It ends up being those blooms that we need to get rid of so that we can put our energy and our focus and our attention into growing towards other stuff, you know. And the idea of it being scary, There is so much that happens post college where it's like, okay, I feel like I've put all this time and I've put all this energy and I put something in, and it's scary to have to shift gears in ways. But when you cut the stuff off that's not working, then you get to focus on the stuff that is. The next thing is the question of whether or not you're giving you the conditions that you need to thrive. And if not, you're gonna have to change some stuff, right? Um, in the United States, you have something called a grow zone chart. The one of my other neighbors just pulled up. I know this because I'm outside. And the USDA has a grow zone chart, right? There are different parts of the country that different plants have different processes. There are different plants that thrive better than others. There are different just basically things work better in some areas than others. So I got really excited. I was like, I'm gonna get me an aloe plant, right? Because everyone knows what an aloe plant is. When I saw the big things in the store, I got excited and I was like, I want those. And I have this thing for these healing plants. So I got my aloe plant. I smiled, but an aloe plant is not necessarily native to North Carolina. So wintertime happened and there are snowflakes, the little snowflakes because it's wintertime. And I was like, okay, it's cool. The plant will be fine. I got it, right? And it wasn't. So we get past winter, we get past the cold part, and my plant turned to mush, and I was really confused. And I'm on the phone with one of my friends, and I said, "Hey, man, my plant's dying." And he's like, "Your plant's not dying. You're killing it." And I was like, "Hmm." So this idea of it's not dying, you're killing it, right? There are so many things that we end up doing in life where we say, okay, I want something to be a certain way, but I can't do it like this, I can't do it like that. And it gets scary because I'm like, with this plant, I knew because of Google that I should have put it in well-drained soil, I should have done this, I should have done that. That they don't go well in the cold, that they have to be bought in for the winter. And I just didn't do those things. And the problem is that with ourselves, I think we end up in situations where we say, okay, for ourselves, we're not worried about the care and keeping of us, right? The most important thing that came out of this year was this concept that we have to care for ourselves, that we have to put our so we can, that we have to run away from situations that will cause us pain and harm because frankly, life will do that to you enough, right? So the this plant we're gonna focus on or this little tidbit here. We focus on this quite a bit here. So with my aloe, I was like, cool, I'm gonna try it again. So I learned about the soil conditions. I was like, bam, cool, I know about those. I decided I wasn't gonna leave it out in the winter. Bam, all is good. Put it in warm, happy sun. I was like, awesome, that's cool. I'll put it in the happy sun, everything will be fine. Let's go. We did it. I got an aloe plant and then another one died, right? And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening because I learned about the soil. I had it in the warm weather. And as it turns out, with growth processes, sometimes it takes development and time, right? So with going into the world, there's a lot that we leap forward into, and I just want to say, if it doesn't go right, don't have it be the end. Just figure out how to make it happen, right? So sun-loving aloes need sun to thrive. They require it for their growth and development. But even if they're not acclimated to it, it can cause them problems. So the bottom line from this lesson was like, even when you prepared, it's okay to have to grow into your greatness. And that growing into your greatness, sometimes it's learning from your mistakes, adapting processes, building a system of support, never being afraid to get stronger, knowing that failure is a part of the process and using those failures to be prepared next time. Most things aren't easy. Most things don't come easy. And I think as Black people, there's not this expectation that things are easy. It's kind of the contrary. I think a lot of us are just used to the fight. And that being the case, you say, okay, well, I'm going to prepare myself as best as I can to be able to take on my battles. Now, there's stuff that you don't want to fight in life, and there's stuff that you're like, okay, I'm gonna just make sure I don't have to do this. So before you dig, you can call 811 and they'll mark your line. And if you're trying to plant something in your garden and you hit a gas line, you're gonna have a bad time, right? If you're trying to plant something in your garden, you hit a water line, you're gonna have a bad time. And the idea is when Dr. Danielle said, lean on the center, lean on the faculty, lean on your people from college. It's this idea that there are resources and tools to make sure that you're okay. lean into those resources so that it's not this thing where you feel like you're out there by yourself. And like I said, most of this is a metaphor. So the idea of growing you in the wrong soil can make you unhealthy and accelerate your stress. It said death. We're not putting death on y'all. That's not doing that. So we're changing it to stress. Therefore, this article seeks to guide you in comprehending the best soil for you that will keep the you plant alive and healthy, right? So are you giving you the conditions you need to thrive? If not, you're gonna have to change some stuff. And you know, even with that being the case, things get rough. Focus on your roots, okay? They're more important than the flowers. And with gardening, I've learned that healthy roots make a healthy plant. So people love when stuff is blooming and when it's thriving and when it's beautiful. They get excited about it. I get excited about it. It's just kind of human nature. But what about when stuff is barren? What about when stuff dies? What about when the flowers go away? With these plants, there's a lot that happens above ground, but there's so much more that's happening below ground. And I think the bottom line is making sure that you are establishing your foundation the best it needs to be, right? So I got these elephant ears and the bulbs, like I got them. I was being really impatient. I dug them up because it had been either 3 days or a week and a half, something in there. And I'm like, nothing's come from underground. What's going on? And I dug them up and they had these big, fat, juicy roots just going into the ground. So for this elephant ear, it's like, cool, I'm gonna handle the downstairs stuff. And then they shoot up and they're huge, right? But that's part of the process in establishing it to be this healthy plant. It's got to get its roots right first. So it's not worried about the stuff on the top. But even with that, I saw a video. This is an aloe plant. I told y'all I got excited about the aloe. I'm gonna try again this year. So this is my current aloe, and so that you see the scale of it on the left, that's my foot. I wear a size 11 shoe. That's the aloe next to it, right? So I saw this video clip. The guy was like, look, you could cut the roots off. You could put the aloe in one thing. It'll make new roots because the plant's focus is making sure it can get the stuff it needs. He's like, but you can put the roots in a container. It'll grow a whole new aloe. And I was like, I would like 2 shoe-sized aloes. That'd be great. So I have to tell y'all, like, I'm saying all this stuff about trusting the process. And sometimes it doesn't happen from ourselves too, right? So I put this in the bucket. It's been like 3 weeks, y'all. And I was like, I can't put these pictures in this presentation because like my aloe didn't thrive. It's not growing. And he said it would grow. And I can't tell y'all to trust the process if it didn't grow, because then you won't believe in the process, right? So an hour before we were supposed to present this, I went back outside and I looked at it because I was kind of upset, and I saw this little green bloom, right? So after all this time, these weeks later, my aloe is coming back, right? Because it's doing what it needs to do below the soil so that the top part can be handled. And so I'll have another aloe. It's just gonna take time, and that's okay. That's okay. So everything gives you signs. You have to make sure that you're giving you and your practice the room to grow. If your roots are starved for oxygen, they shoot plants with trees, they shoot suckers up into the air. I don't know like the science behind it, if they're just in the space to get more water, or if they're just, you know, a sign that the tree needs water. But this is one of mine at home. This is one that's outgrowing somewhere. And with your stuff at home, what you'll find, or not your stuff at home, with yourself, you'll have signs for when you need to be handling you, when you need to be watering your roots and making sure that you're okay, self-care, whatever it is, stepping away from situations. All of that stuff is important, right? So make sure you pay attention to the signs. And I want to say that there will be things that happen that are hard. That's part of the process, but this is my red banana tree. I like the colors of it. So this is the first year it was here. It had this nice, beautiful, unremarkable trunk, and it went through the winter process, and I was like, I killed this too, bro. Like I left it outside and it turned berry brown. All of it looked like this. And a couple weeks ago, this one leaf shot out the top, and I was like, my baby's okay. And I wasn't sure yet. But now around the bottom of it is this reminder that it made it through something, right? The idea of recuperating and protecting yourself is something that is so important to me. Like I said, this last year was very hectic, and having to grow through some stuff, I was like, I need to protect myself and my space and my energy and be able to recuperate and step away and be okay. So this is my baby plant. I love this plant. It's an oxalis. Every night these flowers close up, and I don't know what they're doing in their little plant land, but they open back up when the sun comes back out, right? And it's okay to say, okay, I need to step away to make sure I'm good and come back out when the sun is shining again. however it is that you have to make your life work for you, that's okay to do. Now I'm gonna go through these fairly quickly because I know we're running out of time, or I'm running out of time. But you know, there's the quote about tall grass hiding snakes, like keep your grass short so that you know you can see the snakes. But tall grass hides bunnies, right? And it's important to know where both of those things are. So we were out. This is supposed to play a video, but I don't know if it's gonna. We'll see. There it goes. We had really tall grass in the yard just because it hadn't been cut yet. And there was a bunny that showed up in the backyard and it went running through the yard. And I was on the trampoline and I looked under it and I didn't see the bunny because this whole bunny was concealed in the grass because it was very tall. And I say that to say that in your life, in your practice, there are always going to be things. There are things that you're excited about. There are things that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to focus on this. And with life, you got to find a balance. When you have too much going on that you can't give attention to the stuff the way it deserves, your good stuff gets lost because you can't see it. And you don't want it to be that you have these bunnies and you're like, I love these bunnies, they're great. And then you have all of this other stuff covering it up. So I say it's important to know where your good stuff is so that you can mind it the way that you need to. But also, like with studio and my practice, I've cut down a lot because there was so much going on, and I can give my best self to my monuments, my sculptures right now, and to this book that I'm focusing on to fill it with love. You know, it comes down to saying what works for you and what you can give, because I can't give to 800 things. I just don't have the time. But if I say I care about this project and I do, then I can put more of me into it if it's not that I'm trying to feed that project and myself and 800 other things, right? Now I say that to talk about good stuff, but really quickly, I'm gonna say something about bad stuff. Expect a cactus to be a cactus, okay? And I say that, I say plan for that or don't grow cactuses. So my love got one of these cactuses and he's really excited about it. And he's like, it's a cactus. I'm like, it's a cactus. Like, why are we getting a cactus? You know, it's his, it's not my cactus. But it's a bunny ear cactus. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute, right? Like the name is nice, the idea is nice. And as it turns out, it's still literally covered in spikes. It is a cactus. And the reason I don't grow cactuses is because I don't want spikes and spines on my pants. Like for a couple days after you touch a cactus, everything feels pokey. And in life, you encounter situations, you encounter people, you encounter projects, you encounter businesses that are cactuses, right? But the thing about a cactus is that a cactus didn't lie about having spikes. A cactus won't not have spines. A cactus isn't going to be able to not have spines because it really wants to not poke you with them, right? There are people who will show up in your life and say, I'm a cactus and you need to hug me, and you have to run in the opposite direction. There are people who are part of projects who will try and take everything from you. There are situations that you say, okay, I know this person is shady, but they're my way in, or I know this person is bad to everyone else, but they're going to make sure I have what I need and they're not going to hurt me. And it doesn't pan out that way. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of you and not introducing people or keeping people around once they reveal that they're going to be a cactus, because you know there are people who say, okay, I'm committed to living my life, making sure that I take care of everyone and anyone who comes around is welcome. And it's like, you've got to protect your energy and yourself. And at this point I'm like, you know, he can have his cactus, I don't need to mess with it, it's not mine, right? So the one of the final points is the idea of being able to appreciate what grows in other people's gardens, and to know that your thing is what's special. So for me, I don't need to grow cactuses, but I'm not saying that other people don't grow cactuses. And now I'm talking about like literal cactuses instead of the metaphor of a cactus, like a bad person or environment or situation, you know. And the idea that your thing is special is so very important, because you know, I say the idea is that you can or can't grow everything. I mean, that's up for you to decide. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do in life. As somebody who, like I said, I sculpt, I draw, I illustrate, I photograph, I do this, I do that, I do that. It's not my job to tell you what you can and can't do. But understand that if you say, okay, you can do everything, you need structure for it to make sure that you can that it's sustainable, that you can keep doing it. Or you need, if you can't do everything, then you need selection, and it's about determining what makes the most sense and what's most important to you. And either way, what you can or you can't manage, you are you, and that's good stuff, right? So this picture is from my sister's garden. She bought me these flowers today as I was working on my presentation, and she got really excited last year about catnip, and I was like, bro, I don't want catnip, but she grew it and it's beautiful and I love it. And I'm like, okay, I've learned something new by seeing her tend to these flowers, right? And with art, with my stuff, people will tell me, they're like, oh, I'm not an artist, I can't draw. There are people who draw stuff and they say I could never do something like that. The bottom line is that you don't have to be anything other than yourself. And there's no one that has to be you except for you. So be your best self, because when people hire me to make something, they're looking for dare. They're looking for the things that I bring to the table. They're looking for the things that I present. And in life, when you go off in the world and you're trying to establish who you are and figure that out, it's so easy to look at other people and say, but they're doing it better, that's what I should be doing instead. And you have to honor yourself by saying there's something that's special about you and knowing that that's important. So, back to this concept for the final time, this idea that you are the you plant, that you have to keep alive and healthy. You got to have the right draining soil, bring you in the winter. It's all important stuff. But in this concept that we are plants, this is a placenta. Babies are attached to placentas in the womb, and it looks like a tree. There's the tree stump and the fingerprint, and this idea that we're all plants and we're beings and we have to grow. In life, you deserve your flowers. And we are all here to give you all, the class of 2021, all of the flowers that you deserve. So remember to thrive, grow, bloom, tend to yourself, and appreciate the beauty that you provide to the world. Class of 2021, congratulations. I am so honored to have been here with you today. Thank you so much. Y'all be great.
Thank you, Dare. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dare. I don't even know how we go on. I think people may need to sit with that for a little while. Thankfully,
look, I gotta sit off my neighbor's porch, so I'm